When hinges creak in doorless chambers, and strange and frightening sounds echo through the halls, wherever candlelights flicker, where the air is deathly still. That is the time when ghosts are present, practicing their terror and ghoulish delight. Welcome, foolish mortals, to the haunted mansion.
Welcome to Disney Tim Time and my captivating interview with the ghoulishly yet surprisingly cordial Hatbox ghost. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Disney Tim Time. I'm your host, Disney Tim, and today we have a very special guest that's joining us, or should I say haunting us. From the Haunted Mansion itself, that's right, it's none other than the infamous Hatbox ghost.
Pleasure to be here, mortal. Thanks for having me.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. Now, before we dive into our ghostly chat, let's talk a bit about the history of our spectral friend here. You see, the Hatbox ghost has quite the tale to tell. Back in 1969, when the Haunted Mansion first opened its creaky doors at Disneyland, guests were greeted by a ghostly figure known as the Hatbox Ghost. With a sinister grin and a hatbox in hand, he spooked visitors as they journeyed through the eerie corridors of the mansion.
Ha ha ha! Those were the good old days, haunting the halls of Disneyland with my trusty Hatbox by my side. But alas, my time there was short-lived.
Mysteriously, the Hatbox Ghost vanished from the Haunted Mansion after just a few short days, leaving guests and Imagineers alike scratching their heads in confusion. For decades, his whereabouts remained unknown, shrouded in mystery and speculation. Can you tell us, where did you go? You were missing for decades, and you finally returned to Disneyland in 2015.
Yes, I disappeared into the shadows, waiting for the right moment to make my triumphant return. And that moment finally came a few years ago when I reappeared at the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland and Walt Disney World.
With much fanfare and excitement, you finally made your long-awaited comeback to the Haunted Mansion, delighting guests with your mischievous antics and your mysterious aura. And for the first time ever, appearing at the Haunted Mansion at the Magic Kingdom.
And here I am, back where I belong, haunting these hallowed halls and keeping guests on their toes. But enough about me. Let's get back to our interview.
Can you tell us about the history and backstory of the Haunted Mansion?
Ah, the Haunted Mansion. It all began in the early 1960s, when the Imagineers at Disney were conjuring up a new attraction for their park. They wanted to create a place where ghosts could retire and relax, far from the prying eyes of the living. The mansion was built on the grounds of the Gracie Estate, a sprawling, decrepit mansion with a history as dark and mysterious as the fog that surrounds it. Each room in the mansion tells a different story. From the stretching portraits to the ballroom filled with dancing spirits, I myself have been there since the beginning, though not always on display. I was one of the original 999 happy haunts when the mansion opened its doors in 1969.
You disappeared from the Haunted Mansion for several decades. Can you tell us where you went and what did you do during that time?
Ah, yes. My mysterious absence. It was quite the adventure, I can tell you. After my initial appearance, I realized I had some unfinished business in the spectral world. So I packed my Hatbox and I set off on a journey beyond the mortal realm.
Speaking of your Hatbox, I see that you brought one along. Can you show us your famous trick?
Of course I can. I can't go anywhere without being asked.
Impressive. That never gets old. How many times a day do you have to do that?
Oh, I lost count, But as the many fans pass by, it must be thousands and thousands of times a day.
Well, I must say it always impresses the fans. But let's get back to your time away. What was the first place that you visited?
My first stop was the catacombs of Paris. The underground tunnels are filled with the bones of over 6 million souls. It was the perfect place to brush up on my French and exchange ghost stories with the local specters. We had quite the soiree down there, with wine that was aged for centuries and music that echoed through my bones.
Where did you go next?
After Paris, I floated over to the Tower of London. The ghosts there are a bit more stern, but they were full of fascinating tales from history. I learned all about the royal hauntings and even played a game of chess with Anne Boleyn, who I might add is quite the strategist.
Did you visit any other famous haunted houses?
Absolutely. I couldn't resist stopping by the Stanley Hotel in Colorado. That's where Stephen King was inspired to write The Shining. The spirits there are a lively bunch, always up for a good scare. I spent a few years there honing my ghostly presence and learning the art of suspense.
What about your travels outside of haunted places? Did you explore any other realms?
Indeed, I did. I took a detour to the astral plane, a realm of pure thought and energy. It was there I met ancient spirits and learned the secrets of the universe. The knowledge I gained there was invaluable, and it helped me understand the balance between the living and the dead.
Did you ever encounter any trouble on your travels?
Oh, plenty of times. Once I found myself in a haunted carnival that had been abandoned for decades. The clowns there were particularly mischievous, and they played all sorts of tricks on me. But I managed to outwit them, and even taught them a few tricks of my own. We parted on good terms. I even got a good souvenir, a ghostly balloon that never pops.
What made you decide to return to the Haunted Mansion after all these years?
The Haunted Mansion, my true home after all. As much as I enjoyed my travels, I missed the camaraderie of my fellow haunts and the thrill of scaring visitors. When I heard that the mansion was calling me back, I knew it was time to return. Plus, I had a lot of new stories to share and tricks to show off. And so here I am, back in my rightful place, ready to welcome new guests to the mansion.
Do you have any advice for new ghosts looking to make their mark?
Patience and practice. The spectral art takes time to master, and every ghost has their own unique style. Don't be afraid to travel and learn from others. And most importantly, have fun. After all, being a ghost is all about enjoying the afterlife at its fullest.
So, Mr. Hatbox Ghost, tell us, what's it like being a ghostly resident of the Haunted Mansion once again? Are there any new tricks up your sleeve, or should I say your hatbox?
Well, since I was gone, Disney has been busy and building multiple haunted mansions. For now, I travel forth between California and Florida. But my hope is to be in Paris one day. There are a lot of ghosts out there that need a retirement home.
You mentioned that you were one of the original 999 ghosts. Now that you're back, does that make 1,000?
Well, no. It's a long story. After I left, someone else came in, and when I came back, well, they left. And the others, they no longer include me in that count. Something about not being a happy haunt? Oh, I think I'm very happy. I don't know. You will have to ask them. They're always trying to recruit another ghost, always trying to get to 1,000. But I think it's just a marketing scheme.
Are you enjoying yourself now that you are back?
Oh, you know me. Always keeping things lively and unpredictable. But I must say, it's a thrill to be back among fellow spirits and scaring the daylights out of unsuspecting mortals.
Can you tell us about some of the other ghosts in the Haunted Mansion and how you get along with them?
Oh, absolutely. The Haunted Mansion is home to quite the motley crew of spirits. and each one has their own unique quirks. It's like one big spooky family.
What about Madame Leota? How do you two get along?
Madame Leota. She's the mystic medium who resides in the seance room. We have quite a great rapport. Her ability to communicate with the other side is unparalleled, and she's always got some fascinating prophecies. Sometimes we even collaborate on a few ghostly tricks to keep the guest on their toes. She's got a real knack for the dramatic, which I admire.
And the hitchhiking ghost? Well, they seem like a bunch of fun.
The hitchhiking ghost, Phineas, Ezra, and Gus, they are indeed a lively trio. They're always up for a good prank, and their hitchhiking antics never get old. We often exchange stories of the guests that we spooked. They're my go-to partners for a good laugh and some harmless mischief.
How did you get along with the bride that's in the attic?
Constance Hatchaway, our resident bride. She's quite the character. We have a bit of a love-hate relationship. She's charming in her own way. But let's just say you don't want to get on her bad side. We've shared many a midnight chat about the mysteries of love and the afterlife. I tend to keep my distance when she's in one of those moods, though.
What about the ballroom dancers? Did you ever join them in their ghostly waltz?
The ballroom dancers are delightful. Their eternal waltz is mesmerizing, and I've been known to cut in for a dance or two. The music is enchanting. The atmosphere is always festive. It's a wonderful way to pass the time and reminisce about the grand old days.
How do you get along with the graveyard ghost? They seem like a rowdy bunch.
The graveyard ghost? Well, they're the life of the party, aren't they? If you can call it that. The caretaker and his dog are always trying to keep things in order. But the spirits, they love to sing and they love to celebrate. It's hard not to get caught up in their joyful revelry. We often have sing-alongs and ghostly games that go till dawn.
Are there any ghosts you don't get along with?
Well, in any large family, there are bound to be a few disagreements. The Phantom Five in the graveyard can be a bit competitive when it comes to our musical performances. And the Hatchet Man has a rather gruff demeanor. But overall, we all coexist quite peacefully. After all, we share the common goal of making the Haunted Mansion a delightfully frightful experience for all of our guests.
Any funny stories or memorable moments with your ghostly comrades?
Plenty. One time, the Singing Bust and I had a prank war that lasted for weeks. We kept trying to outdo each other with spookier and sillier tricks. It ended with a grand finale involving floating instruments and a spectral choir that left the guest both terrified and amused. It's moments like these that make the afterlife in the Haunted Mansion so enjoyable.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today's Ghostly Gabfest. I would like to thank my ghost, Mr. Hatbox Ghost. Stay tuned and be sure to like and subscribe as we have additional interviews that are coming up in the near future. And the more likes and subscribes we get, the more fun videos we can look forward to. Until next time, remember to keep it spooky, keep it silly, and always believe in the magic of Disney. See you real soon.